If you look at the research and you look at what is pioneering the research in terms of oxidative stress, you'll find some researchers really sum it up to three things that are very important: prevention, interception, and repair. Okay, now what this means is, first, there needs to be prevention of oxidative stress in the first place. Then there needs to be interception with it, the ability to deal with it. And then there needs to be repair. How do we actually get stronger once we deal with it? Because reactive oxygen species and oxidative stress isn't really necessarily bad. It's only bad if it's over the top. Exercise induces oxidative stress, oxidative damage. But in a healthy human or healthy model in general, you can deal with it and recover and get stronger. So let's go ahead and break it down, specifically as it relates with something called FOXO3, which is very interesting. Before I dive in, a lot of people that are into antioxidants and into that whole piece consume lots of berries, consume lots of fruit. I put a link down below for 20% off Organifi's red juice. Okay, you've seen me talk about Organifi on my channel before. So there's only 2 grams of sugar, and it's all just a little trickle-down effect from all the freeze-dried berries that they have in this red juice powder. Okay, they're using 100% whole food beets. That's the main thing that's making it red. So good for nitric oxide production, things like that. Also, some of the berries they're using are acai berries, which are obviously very antioxidant rich. They're using pomegranates and 13 total superfoods in a power packing little powder. It is awesome. And again, only 2 grams of sugar, plus they have adaptogens in there, which are also very good for helping us adapt to a stress response, which is something we're going to talk about a ton in this video. So utilizing cordyceps, utilizing reishi mushroom, utilizing rhodiola, utilizing ginseng, really cool compound put together. And again, only a couple grams of sugar. So really low carb, really simple thing that you can add into your daily mix. And if you're fasting, it's something that goes perfect at the end of a fast along with your food. So 20% off using that link. Go to Organifi.com/Thomas2022. Again, Organifi.com/Thomas2022. Okay, and you can also use code Thomas2022 to save 20% off your order. So check them out after this video. So first, we look at the prevention category. And there is something called metallothioneins. Now, what these are components that actually carry a little bit of an electrical charge. Okay, and this little bit of an electrical charge can actually help offset some of the crazy electrical charge that occurs from an oxidant. So it's important to understand that when we have oxidative stress, essentially they're rogue electrons. Okay, so you have what's called the redox potential and all other things that happen inside of the mitochondria where we're manufacturing energy. And what happens is it's all a process of electrons that are moving down a gradient. Now, I don't need to go into exquisite detail there. If you know, you know. If you don't know, we can really make it simple. These electrons ultimately carry energy in an electrical form. And a lot of times they escape. Okay, sometimes it's through UCP2 where you have a full uncoupling that allows for this redox to change, and basically you allow electricity to leave, and these electrons go around and they hit things, and when they hit things, they cause oxidative damage. Okay, so in essence, you need to kind of fight fire with fire, and you need to be able to neutralize this electrical kind of electron, right? So how you can do that is with something that's called a coupler, which sounds really interesting. A coupler is part of these metallothioneins. Now, what does this have to do with anything? This is crazy sounding. There is something called FOXO3. And this FOXO3 actually regulates the production of these metallothioneins that have couplers in them that neutralize the electrons. So how do we increase FOXO3? Apparently, this is a good thing. FOXO3 is the transcription factor that's associated with stress. So, for example, this is a perfect example of fasting or caloric restriction in general. Because when you go through nutrient deprivation will actually trigger FOXO3 to encode and basically trigger gene expression to adapt to basically being stressed from less food. So everything becomes more efficient. Now, in this period of time, when you have FOXO3 or FOXO3 activated or elevated, this can also trigger the release or the production, the gene expression, the production of these metallothioneins that have coupers. So there's an indirect response. Because think about it, every time you are calorically restricting, you're actually inducing stress. So not only are you developing more resiliency, but in the interim, you are preventing the oxidative stress and the oxidative damage from ever becoming a big problem. You're really preventing it at its core. So caloric restriction, whether you're fasting or just reducing calories from time to time, is one of the best ways that you can potentially prevent the oxidative stress from really forming in the first place, even though you are, in essence, kind of creating it. It's kind of weird. The other side that I talked about, number 2 of 3, is interception. Interception is, hey, whoa, jumping in there and stopping this thing from doing its crazy damage. Our bodies have endogenous antioxidants. That means those are antioxidants that are formed inside our bodies. We often think of antioxidants as what we take in from certain fruits and vegetables, and those certainly help. They do play a role. But our body's endogenous antioxidants are the really powerful things. Things like superoxide dismutase 1, superoxide dismutase 2, glutathione peroxidase. Okay, these are very important. But in order to produce those, we need to have a little bit of stress, because the stress actually triggers the production of these in the first place. Well, guess what comes back to the rescue again? FOXO3, once again. Basically, it helps produce what are called dismutases. And dismutases basically turn down the electrical power of these stressors. So instead of being a neutralizer that's stopping them before they ever get anywhere, they attenuate their charge so that they can be dealt with. That's what a dismutase is. It dismutases the superoxide, turning down the electrical charge. Well, it turns out that the transcription of these things is stimulated once again by FOXO3. And there was a study that was published in the journal IU-BMB Life, and they said that they find FOXO3 to be the most potent stimulator of endogenous antioxidants. I cannot overemphasize, endogenous, your built-in antioxidants are stronger than an external antioxidant. So what's another way here that you can do it? Well, there's some evidence surrounding saunas increasing FOXO3, so high heat, encouraging FOXO3 so you get more of this endogenous antioxidant effect. Okay, there's also evidence surrounding cold exposure doing the same kind of thing. So this is where fasting, heat exposure, cold exposure can help your body produce more of its own antioxidants. Now we have to look at the repair side of things. So this is like, okay, now the damage is kind of done, but maybe we can repair and get stronger. Well, the funny thing is there's also the link with FOXO3 here as well, and it makes it a relatively easy discussion to have. When cells kind of get damaged and proteins get damaged, in essence, you can do a couple of things. You can reduce or you can repair. Okay, so repair means like there's actual DNA repair where you have little workhorses that are coming in and fixing things. Or you can reduce. You say, you know what? We need to get rid of some of this stuff. It's just a waste of space. It's not worth having the energy here. So you reduce or you repair. Well, this reduction is a very important thing. And this reduction comes from what is called THIOREDOXIN reductase. Okay, this is an enzyme that helps with this whole process and basically allows the reduction to occur. Without this, you cannot reduce. You cannot get rid of the things you need to get rid of. Well, come to the rescue, FOXO3 once again. There was a study that was published in the journal Antioxidant and Redox Signaling that found that FOXO3 controls this whole process. So this entire process of being able to reduce is controlled by the stress response. Now, another method that might be interesting, not necessarily in the research correlated with this specifically, but people don't necessarily talk about hypoxia, training at altitude, or training in such an intense fashion that you actually go hypoxic. Hypoxic means you starve your body of oxygen. I don't want you going up to 20,000 feet and running wind sprints, but doing some activity where you actually deprive your body of oxygen for a little while can actually make it stronger. And it can actually trigger neurogenesis. There's some interesting data there too, and I'm going to have an interesting doctor on my channel here in a couple of months talking specifically about this. Because when you stress your body through hypoxia, you actually have a rebound effect. By contrast, creates more ability to create energy with less. So FOXO3 plays a role with this. So what are we gathering here? Temporary caloric restriction, relative intense exercise, occasional altitude training, not to mention being able to do some cold exposure and some sauna work. There are a number of other different stressors that we can add into the mix if we really want to. And then it all comes back down to supporting this production with adequate nutrition, adequate protein, adequate micronutrients, and adequate, ultimately, exogenous antioxidants too, to help us form everything. You see, it's an orchestra that needs to be put together in a beautiful way for your body to do its job naturally. So we can control it to a certain degree. We can't control it by eating copious amounts of fruits and vegetables, but we can control it by making our bodies more resilient. As always, keep it locked in here on my channel. I'll see you tomorrow.